Hey everybody, this is Boss Bill Radio. It is 2022 in the month of January. I am Griff Hoffmann, and with me is Jeffrey Brewer.
What's up?
And James Sherer.
Hey everybody.
What's up, Jim?
Hey, Jimmy.
We're taking that into the new year.
Can I call you Jimmy Sherer?
There are far too many nicknames associated with my name. How, like you guys, Griffin, you have Griff.
Yep.
Jeff, there's just nothing.
Nope.
That's just
can't get any shorter than that or longer. You're stuck.
Ain't nothing but a G thing.
Yeah.
Maybe. Can I call you Hamish? Hamish Linklater?
Yeah.
Turned in a star performance in Midnight Mass. You all should watch that. This is a TV podcast, right?
This is the podcast where we try and convince each other that names are real. Like Hamish Linklater. And
No, that's
Megan Dixbiggin.
Megan Dixbiggin is she's a hardworking, she's the girl boss if I ever saw one.
Yep. But she was canceled in 2021.
She was canceled for using her employees as human furniture.
Yeah.
Which I personally think is very inappropriate. I think that she was
The cancellation or the
assault.
act of?
The cancellation, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's to another year where this podcast has not been ripped from the airs, gentlemen. 3 white guys talking about games. Haha, come and get us.
The internet needs us.
I really thought you were going to use the opportunity to say, speaking of human furniture, Activision Blizzard.
Some big news happening today, right, fellers?
Yeah, we chose a good day to pound one of these guys out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Pounding it out just like Megan.
It's just like every day.
So the news is out this morning.
Guys.
Surprising, right? Do you mind if we'll just hit the high level here, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Unless, Jamie,
had a
you're
question.
really wanting to get something in edgewise about.
I need the table setting first, and then I'm going to just jump right in.
All right. So early this morning, on the 18th of January, information started to trickle out around a buyout that was becoming public information with Microsoft looking to purchase Activision Blizzard. So the facts that we know are as follows. The amount that is being offered in the buyout is $68.7 billion. Nice. It's an all-cash buyout.
Couldn't be $0.3 billion more.
No, that's Bobby. That's the Bobby cut.
Go on.
Yeah. So, I mean, significant, huge. We haven't seen this kind of money thrown around in a long time. Last time we see this in the tech industry was the Dell buyout of EMC for 67. That was cash in stock, is what I read. So
$67 billion for that too.
$67 billion for the EMC buyout, but blend of cash and stock, so a little bit different,
Okay.
right?
Is
So,
that in
fluctuation.
adjusted 2022 dollars?
That is in Wikipedia article on the buyout.
Okay.
So whoever updated it last.
I was going to say, you can always trust Sinister Joe. He's a real stickler for facts.
I can tell you that what I read said $67 or $67 even. It was quite the buyout. It didn't call out any adjustments, so the deal was for the 67.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I was going to say, you know, when I first saw this number, I was struck by, like, when I saw Minecraft for $1 billion, right? I was like, holy shit, that's a lot of money. Remember when Instagram was $1 billion?
Yep.
Remember when, like, freaking WhatsApp was, I don't know, a few billion? Like, this is so big. $68.7 billion. All cash? I didn't even know they had that kind of cash sitting around, to be honest.
Wow.
Say, man, somebody's making that NFT money.
I was going to say, did Microsoft steal all my apes?
No, but you're going to have to upgrade your Windows version for the anti-ape security. Jamie, let's get your thoughts out there. What's going on? What was on your mind
Well, my
about
question
all
was,
this?
I've seen so much conflicting information. I read a Times article in the morning shortly after the news broke that seemed to intimate that Bobby Kotick was staying. And then Geoff sent a couple things that intimated he was leaving, and then literally since then I've seen articles that seem to be saying both. Can you guys clear this up? I don't understand. Is he staying? Is he going? What's going on?
I heard that if he goes, there will be trouble, but if he stays, it will be double.
I heard that Bobby Kotick is blasting off again.
Griff, I don't know where you land on this. So, I saw that Microsoft basically said Kotick isn't going anywhere. That was the statement. I think he's staying. Kotick apparently didn't offer any specifics. He just said he would be happy to assist however they needed him. But Wall Street Journal reported.
I mean, why not keep him around?
Human
He's only
furniture.
drawn a minimum wage salary at this point. So
Yeah, right. It's like that's on like $15 an hour.
Yeah.
Or wait, is that a microsecond? A picosecond?
Oh.
Anyway, Wall Street Journal said he's out, and I think he's probably out. I think the reason that the messaging is so all over the place is because all this kind of stuff, like all these acquisitions, they're so... I feel like everything is like tailored to investors, right, and stockholders, so they don't want to rock the boat at all. And I think that while especially if the acquisition doesn't go through, this is just me now thinking off the top of my head, but if the acquisition is denied because of an antitrust concern, for example, and they say Kotick is out, if Kotick then comes back in, I mean, he might be doomed to CEO anyway, but if he were to come back in post failed acquisition, knowing that they were going to eliminate him, that would be a really bad look. So I think they're probably just holding their cards close to the chest, but I just can't imagine that Microsoft, who has been making such a big point, like, to push for diversity and accessibility, even if they're not actually living those values, but they at least espouse them.
Yep.
I can't imagine they would keep Kotick.
Yeah, Jamie, I'll just jump on that thought too and echo Geoff and say that I don't think it's even worth worrying about at this point, right? It's a galvanizing topic with the hot water that Activision Blizzard has been in. We want to know, what are they going to do with the shitlord? And we hope that our best buddy Phil is going to axe him. But in reality, right, like Geoff said, you're a business. Your priorities is making money and not shitting where you sleep. So give it time. But it seems like all fingers are pointing to nothing is shaking up right now, right? It's day one. The announcement is, hey, we're buying it. Hopefully it goes through.
And I think he's probably not. If I were if I were Microsoft and I was looking at the portfolio of Activision, I don't think Bobby Kotick is the part that's important to them. So they're probably going to follow the path of least resistance, which I would imagine is bye.
Yeah,
but who knows? I don't know.
I think that. So I'm with you guys. I think it's kind of like just kind of an academic exercise to wonder about it at this point, but. It's funny because not looking at the New York Times, not looking at, the Financial Times, looking at the websites that we go to, like Kotaku, and watching videos on YouTube, it seems like it's a foregone conclusion that he's going to go. And whenever I was watching those videos or reading those articles, I'm always thinking like, this deal isn't like signed and sealed yet, like how
no.
And for that reason, I think the vast majority of people in our space are kind of heralding this as like a universally great thing, and I'm excited for it because I'm an Xbox.
I think you're living in a hopeful world there and reading a very positive part of the internet.
Well, I'm scared of this thing. This to me reminds me of like in the 20s and 30s and 40s, all the big movie studios conglomerating, and then there's MGM and RKO, and you get one type of movie for 20 years.
Yeah, and by the way, like blacklisting means that if you don't, conform to the standards of these two major studios, then you can't work.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I was going to actually ask, I was looking to query you guys for some lucid points as to what are these negative impacts for the consumer side of things as the consolidation continues to tighten the diversity of the industry, and what you guys called out already is conformity. and I think that there's a hard line I'd like to draw in that conversation, which is between like workers' rights and the the truly important things of people's well-being, and us on the consumer
the truly
side.
important things of the graphics. How good will the graphics be?
The hair texture, exactly. That's what really
it's
matters.
funny, Griff, that you mentioned that Jamie was on a more hopeful corner of the internet than most, because I think I saw a little bit of everything. I saw kind of the, let's say, the more academic folks that we follow who are, who've been in games journalism for some time and trying to kind of elevate the discourse, quote unquote, whether or not you believe they're doing that. Those people are kind of waving around red flags and sounding the alarm. But Geoff Keighley, this is not a great source, but Geoff Keighley did an informal poll of his followers. Is this a good or a bad thing for the games industry? And 40% said yes, in a plurality. It's a good thing. So, I mean,
and only 60% of those respondents were robots from China.
The porn bots can't click the voting buttons.
yeah, come on, man.
I mean, from a consumer side, right, it benefits us in that we get access to a deeper catalog that will more than likely be hitting Xbox Games Pass, which, and PC Game Pass most notably. So for those of us who are engaged in that ecosphere, more than likely will benefit directly from more product.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a synergistic benefit, right? If you're a Game Pass subscriber, then this is probably good for you if you don't own a lot of Activision games, right? Like, I think that they've positioned it to make it palatable, right? I mean, I think that, Microsoft wants us to feel good about being Game Pass subscribers, but I think in the long term, fewer large competitors means, less effort put into products or less drive for innovation. I mean, I think when you remove competitors from a space, you get all the trappings of monopoly. You get price fixing, you get inability to compete, you get a lack of development and innovation and new products, you get people being forced out, all kinds of stuff. So I think in the short term it feels good because I'm like, oh snap, now I can play Call of Duty without having to buy it. But I think that might be a little myopic, as much as that's how I've lived my life for a really long time. I don't know, I feel like we're in this age where anti-giant tech is starting to take root amongst like regular folks a little bit, maybe. And this kind of reminds me of like, your Facebook, your whatever else. Like, I don't know. That's all I got. But
I mean, the articles were all like, this is their swing at the metaverse. They want to be well positioned for the metaverse.
Yeah, I'm going to park that. Because that requires a lot of unpacking. I wanted to ask you guys, as this does seem to follow suit with other media, like you guys brought up the movie industry, and now we're seeing the shift towards streaming, like sticking on this impact for consumers, like have we seen, as audio record labels consolidate and television consolidates the streaming network, if we see things, going in that same pattern, do you guys have any ear to the ground of those industries? Are people suffering? Is it getting worse? Are we getting worse products because of it as things get gobbled up and shifting towards digital occurs and that becomes the new landscape?
It's a good question, and I don't know if you've heard something specific, Jamie. I think about it sometimes, and I see what people are saying about services like Netflix and stuff, and kind of the rise of paying one fee for lots of content and kind of either, reimbursement deals that are not shared with people or based on number of streams and stuff. And I mean, if you look at like Spotify, it seems like most artists feel like they're making way less money and they have to rely on touring now to make all their money. Which they always kind of did, but even more so. I don't know about the movie industry. Some people are really happy that places like Netflix exist because they're like, they would do things that other entities that would try to monopolize the industry wouldn't. So in a sense, they're still kind of disrupting, but I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this, Jamie?
I think as long as the PC exists as a fairly open alternative to Microsoft, PlayStation, and Nintendo, I don't think that this will necessarily like crowd out anyone, because in music, at least, it's always been, that if you are unhappy with the way that your label's treating you, you can pull a Radiohead in 2008 and release In Rainbows on your own. A lot of, Wilco did something similar. I feel like as long as there's an alternative, relatively open ecosystem, I don't think we'll be suffering from the thing that the movie industry had in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, where you literally are getting the same musical over and over and over again, because that's what these 2 or 3 big companies have decided is going to sell.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be Ubisoft game versus Ubisoft game versus Ubisoft game, because we're going to have PC and we're going to get Inscryption 2 and so on and so forth. I hope.
Because not every Call of Duty has Reagan in it. Only the one does.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's that's a good point, Jamie.
But I do think, even so, I still worry. And if anything, I'm like a little worried for Sony. I'm like, come on, guys, do something. Buy Ubisoft. Come on.
I mean, that's the scuttlebutt, right? It's like, well, how is Sony going to respond, right? So, like, I guess that's another kind of negative side effect, which is just further consolidation. So, not just Activision, but how does Sony then, up the ante themselves? Do they pick up Ubisoft? Do they pick up EA? I mean, what kinds of serious acquisitions are we talking about here? Another piece, and this is not exactly related to Activision, but kind of speaks to how much Microsoft is kind of moving the industry despite not really being a leader. It sounds like Sony is cooking up their own Game Pass, and I think Phil Spencer was commenting about it like yesterday, saying like, "Oh, that's great." But interesting to see the kind of subscription model finally making its way into gaming and maybe taking root. I think if Sony picks it up, then this could be a pretty serious... I mean, it already is pretty serious. Game Pass has been a success, but I think if Sony gets in there too, I mean, that could be, another shift that kind of mirrors what's going on in other media industries.
I really hope that 20 years from now, we get the book of oh my God... Brain, come on.
Boba Fett?
No, we get the book of Phil
already.
Spencer. We get the book of Phil Spencer's life, and I really hope it's like an Iwata moment where like, oh, he was actually a good guy through and through, and not like a Bobby Kotick moment.
Yeah. Jamie, I think that's a really good point, because speaking of hopefulness on the internet, right? We alluded to this at the top with Phil really carving out an image for himself, and Microsoft positioning themselves as, friend of the player this year, kind of being the underdog. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, it would be great to see, a decent human being, the mask come off and it's still a decent human being underneath. And I think that's where a lot of that internet hope is coming from, right? Like, Phil, our friend, is leading the charge here, and we hope that this is all has some positive angle for everybody involved in it. I mean, I think that realistically, it's foolish to hope or to expect that, but we can at least hope it.
It's been open season on bad guys for a while now, so I always if another month goes by and nothing's come out, I'm always like, all right, the chances of him being okay just went up.
I mean, also, like, what does it mean to be like, what does it mean to be a good guy? When you're the president or CEO of a huge tech firm, right? Or of an arm of a tech firm, right? Like, I don't know who Phil Spencer is. Does it really matter? I mean, I know the image he presents of himself, and I think that's kind of nice, and I think there's maybe some fringe benefits to what he does, and some of the stuff that he portrays might push the industry in certain directions, but I don't know whether he's a good guy or not. I mean, who knows?
I think it matters because it's for the same reason that, the fact that people think of Kojima as an auteur matters. There's a mystique there that allows people to have a more personal... I mean, like, it's Microsoft, it's Game Pass. But when I think of Game Pass, I think of Phil's fat, beautiful face. And it puts a personal spin on it. And I think that in this country...
I want my video game president to be someone I could have a beer with.
I feel like people like to idolize these people. They like to look up to them.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And they like to learn their foibles and their flaws and Steve Jobs, yada, yada. So I think it does matter. But and I think it's fascinating nonetheless. But I agree with you. Who could he really possibly be? He's like a Fortune 500 CEO. He's probably his goal is probably to be the least offensive person to the most people.
You know what? You don't see a lot of anymore, and maybe this is just because I'm old now. Where are all of the gifs of video game presidents and CEOs these days? Right? Like, that's not a thing anymore, is it?
It's true.
Yeah, I was going to call that out, Geoff, as I think that if you take like Phil and you juxtapose him with like Don Matrick, right, and how you had kind of the smarmy, greasy, corporate overlord. Who's the dude that's at EA now? That's like a good kind of
Peter. What's his name?
No.
I know it's not.
But Don Matrick, who moved to Zynga and all that buff. I mean, like you have to imagine that these folks, are highly media trained, as Jamie's kind of saying, and they do, create this image for themselves, and they're avoiding controversy. But there has to be enough ego in there that, right, like nobody wants to come across as kind of like the working man. I'm gonna roll my sleeves up, and it does kind of seem like Phil does take that mantle on. Is like I'm a champion of gamers. I wear the T-shirts. I know I can talk the talk. I can walk the walk. I'm not here to just point to PowerPoints. So I think that is the perceived thing about him, and I think the hope is hopefully that's not just a facade, right? Like that there is some genuine honesty about the man, and that reflects on the culture of Xbox, that it's a champion of the people, and that type.
And look, I mean, I pay attention when. Oh, by the way, it was Peter Moore. I looked it up.
Not a bad person. Peter Moore is fine.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. I thought Peter Moore is the EA guy who was like, yeah, is he buying the cards?
Peter Moore wasn't he Xbox at some point, and he got the GTA tattoo?
Yeah, but I thought he went to EA afterwards and was rapacious and terrible.
I didn't think so. I was thinking of current EA guy who looks like a human gargoyle come to life.
Andrew?
Yeah.
I forget his full name. Andrew
Wilson.
Yeah. Oh, Andrew Wilson. I love Andrew. Oh my god.
That's who
Andrew is. He's done so much cocaine. Anyway,
he is cocaine. He's also cocaine. Marrying Megan Fox.
Not crack. He's never done crack. Only the powderiest, snowiest, whitest.
Griffin, your reference was not lost on me. I love it. No, I agree. I took notice when what's his name? Pardon me. Who were we just talking about? Phil. When Phil was talking about Xbox and was like, we haven't had a spotless history ourselves, right? So like, the image or the appearance of a reckoning with past corporate misbehavior and desire to grow, whether true or not, did affect me and made me feel good about Microsoft. So that does matter.
I do think that these things trickle down. The culture trickles down from the top more than, I mean, I'm not like I don't work in corporate America, but I work within corporate structures, and I see how someone at the top who might not even be present that often can really shape a place. I think he probably has had an impact.
Hopefully. Yeah. I mean, that's the dream. I was going to say, and we didn't touch on this, and Griff, I know you have a few things listed here. Something that I read about, which I thought was really interesting. And I remember reading about it at the time. So Halo Infinite just came out, right? Everyone loves it. Great game. Had an extremely troubled development. And part of the reason for that was that 343i apparently relied heavily on contract work because of some kind of Microsoft policy. And contract employees can't be retained for more than 18 months. So one thing that I'm wondering about, and I think it links to some of the other stuff you wrote here, Griff, about like unionization efforts and stuff, does this change the culture? Well, obviously people are thinking about the positive cultural changes at Activision, right? Like clean up the mess of sexual misconduct and all that stuff. But what about job security? How does that change in light of this acquisition? Does Activision do they copy the business model of 343i? Were lessons learned there? What's going to happen there?
I think so. I don't want to undercut you, Geoff, but I think that there are answers to that, right? Like this is not the first acquisition Microsoft has done in recent years under the modern era with new consoles and all that. You've got what is it, ZeniMax and Bethesda and all that stuff, as well as their onesie twosie pickups throughout the years, and I think you could do some not you specifically, but a person who wanted that answer could do some investigation and check on those corporate structures and see if those policies are being absorbed into them. I know when the Bethesda piece happened, they were very particular in calling out that there wasn't going to be a massive amount of intercession, and Bethesda would be kind of left on its own to produce the products that we're used to. Does that mean the culture changes, right? Like you're saying, potentially, but I think you can find those answers if you wanted to go look for them.
Sure, and it's probably early to make any prognostication. Go ahead, James. Sorry.
I just wanted to say I agree with Griff completely, but at the same time, they've never done anything like this. So I think it'll be really fascinating to see how this shakes out in terms of if there are layoffs, where they are, and because the way the industry is going, this is going to be the first of several as long as this goes through. This is going to be the first of several of this type of merger, and it'll be really curious to see exactly what happens. It would be great to see that they use less per diem workers and they end up hiring more people and giving them great benefits and fixing all the cultural issues at Blizzard and so on and so forth. I hope that is the case, but I think only time can tell. I mean, I'm sure you can look back and draw some inferences, but this is, I'm not a business expert, but this seems unique, right? Like this is like on another level.
I think it's unique for video games, right? But Microsoft, there has to be a corporate playbook for this type of thing at this point, right? Like this isn't treading new ground, right? You talk about this kind of stuff and you have scalability plans and you do this, that, and the other. And, this has been in the works for many months, right? So this is
probably at least a year. Yeah.
This isn't oopsies, we got bought, right?
Yeah. I mean, it explains a lot about Phil's comments, when he was reluctant to say that they were scaling back their relationship. Had a different plan. I was gonna say, I think it's just so big. I think that it's kind of mind-boggling, right? It's like I just haven't seen anything like this. I feel like in my lifetime. I guess this Dell thing was equivalent, but like the number is just blowing my mind. I think it's the thing that I just keep coming back to.
Right, but you see this type of thing in other industry, right?
I guess so. I mean,
you see this type of thing in banking all the time, in insurance, the more boring business side of stuff.
Sure, yeah. I guess the big acquisitions that you hear about typically are in the tech space, and I think of, entities like Facebook as bigger than the gaming industry, which maybe is incorrect, but they're huge and
much more visible.
Acquisitions of this size, haven't really occurred in those spaces. This is just... It's on another level. So
in health,
also a new industry, though. Right?
Yeah.
It's funny in healthcare. What happens is, like in New Jersey, for example, there comes to be two titans that buy every hospital in New Jersey.
So true. Yep.
And then they just start buying, not because they necessarily know what they're doing, or there seems to be like a coherent business plan. And I'm actually speaking with some like knowledge here, but just because they want to defend against the other guy. And then what that leads to is kind of like a loose fiefdom of these kind of like loosely aligned but not spiritually aligned kind of things.
It's so interesting you say that, Jamie. That's been my experience as well, within some of Maine's large systems. It's like they're trying to get the yoke on, but they can't really.
Yeah.
For better and worse. Sometimes it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I think you guys you're moving in a direction that I want to continue conversation on, which is this the new standard operating protocol, right? Like you guys both alluded to earlier, we'll be seeing more of this, or how will Sony respond? I guess without trying to predict anything, because we're just going to be taking wild swings here. But what would you like to see, if anything at all? Or I guess what would you be interested in happening? May not
Who
be
owns
like to see.
Square Enix.
Square. Yeah.
They're one of the largest publishers in the world.
I feel like PlayStation could buy Square Enix, and that would just make a lot of sense.
That'd make me very sad, because then all my favorite Square Enix games wouldn't come to Switch.
Oh.
But But you're right. I mean, it would make sense.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that I would necessarily like to see, again, because I am kind of afraid of this, but I think things I could see that happening. I could see PlayStation and Ubisoft doing something, although there's that Viacomness in there. I don't know how that plays, but I really don't know. And then there are these other big players like Epic. Like, what's Epic like? Does Epic fit into this in any way, or does Epic just keep being Epic? Like,
I think Epic is probably. I think Epic probably sees itself as big enough to compete with Microsoft at all. I think that they. I don't know if they are, but I think that that's where they would position themselves as an entity unto themselves, because they're not beholden to a platform. You know, I mean, they don't belong to anyone.
They're also producing a non-video game product, right?
Well, that too. Yeah. I was going to say, I feel like the big thing to keep an eye on, because there's nothing I really want either. I don't know if I want any of these acquisitions to happen. I mean, I guess it's nice as a Game Pass subscriber, but it's also disappointing, when it's nice to have heterogeneity in the consoles, but also annoying because I want to play everything I want on one console that I like and not on other consoles, because that's also easier for me as a consumer. But anyway, I think we have to keep our eye on just what the FTC has to say about this. Like, are they going to allow this to happen? Because it's big. And Microsoft has gotten busted up once before. Not that we're doing any serious monopoly busting right now, but this just seems like a target. I think the Staples Office Max merger was not approved because they felt like it would lead to antitrust concerns. And obviously it's not at all the same, but that's the last time I remember them saying no.
I also feel like regulators won't really we're still dealing. Someone at the FTC still thinks the internet is a series of tubes, and I feel like that.
It's not the guy who said it because he's dead. I think that was Larry Craig. I believe. I could be wrong. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah,
it was the guy from Alaska. Go on.
I feel like Staples and Office Mask. Oh my God, it's a new product that I've just come up with. I feel like Staples and Office Max is a very clear-cut example that anyone can understand. These two big stores that you go to, they probably shouldn't be the same thing. I feel like a lot of the intricacies of this are so vague. I wouldn't be surprised, even if the FTC does step in and say, "Hey, this isn't going to happen."
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they've planned for that and they're like, "Okay, well, we'll spin this off, and it'll still kind of be under us, but we'll keep most of it."
It's funny because the Staples Office Max deal probably should have happened because those stores are both doing so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think you might be right, Jamie. It's these people are supposed to be experts at this stuff, but I mean, we all know that antitrust legislation and entities are not very strong right now, so we'll have to see. But yeah, that's what I'm keeping my eye on, because it's just like it all comes back. Everything about this deal for me is just that number is very large. So this is another version of that. This is a large number. I can't believe it's so big. Are they going to say yes to that? Because it's big. So we'll see.
Well, speaking of that large number, I think it's worth calling out too that this purchase, right, does get Microsoft Blizzard Entertainment, but you're also getting some kind of odder things that you may not think about. I found it interesting when I read, it's like, okay, so MLG, Major League Gaming, is up under Activision Blizzard, so you've got your esports kind of, old guard there and all the infrastructure that they've got in place. And then the thing that I know the least about, which would be King, I think it's a European company that has taken on the mobile front for all their work. So you're Bejeweled and whatever else they're peddling.
PopCap, but King is Candy Crush, because
they
they already preload Candy Crush on their computers.
Interesting.
Yeah, right. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Huh.
Every fresh installation of Windows comes with Candy Crush.
You know what I've been just thinking about? So I've been doing, for an article that I'm writing, I've been doing a lot of research into online gambling, and I've done a little bit of a deep dive into how companies like DraftKings and all these other Caesars, they're all able to kind of, at this point, operate kind of indiscriminately across state lines without intervention of regulators. And for the most part, it's just because regulators at this point don't understand it. They are fairly toothless, and they are fine as long as there's tax revenue in it for states. This isn't that situation, but I just feel like even if someone tries to, shove their foot in the door and put a stop to this, I feel like the person who's going to try to do that might do it more for a political reason. Like, it might make a very good, I'm going to get up in front of Congress and I'm going to talk about Grand Theft Auto and hookers and shooting people.
Say, nobody tell Joe Biden that Activision makes violent video games. He doesn't like those.
You know what I mean? I feel like there's just no impetus to kind of put a stop to the proliferation of these growing multifaceted things anymore.
So I'll put my stakes out here, and I guess I was kind of asking you guys a lot of questions because I personally am waiting to see the negatives of this type of thing, right? Like, obviously, hypothetically, a lot of these things can lead to slippery slopes and dangerous conditions and bad for the market and so on and so forth. But I think, again, this is me just being optimistic and hopeful and so on and so forth, but I think Microsoft has done well with their acquisition in the past and their culture of getting new studios and letting those studios continue their products. You don't hear the horror stories of groups like Activision, Blizzard, and EA where studios get acquired and blended, and the products and culture that define those studios get lost and whatever the opposite of sublimated is, evaporated, and these groups start, taking on new jobs that don't even relate. They lose a lot of what made them the interesting entities they were. And if that's happening from a public standpoint, perhaps that's also happening internally, and people are feeling like they're getting more homogenized and they have less of a voice and less of the ability to do creative and interesting work. But it just, at this point, it seems like Microsoft has been making the right moves and not doing anything that is aggressively outwardly offensive. So maybe this is all just, a ploy for a big, fuck you in the end, or, haha, business, gotcha, which, wouldn't be absurd, but
no.
I think that I'm in more of the camp of giving them the benefit of the doubt, due to the goodwill that they've garnered over the years of kind of operating in on the straight and narrow. And again, I can't say if this is, again, I always have to take myself out of I have to draw my line in discussions around being on the consumer side of things, not on the development and what it's like in the working conditions, so on and so forth. But I think that as a consumer, Microsoft has treated me well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that, there's going to be a mustache twirling, heel turn where they're like, actually, I was evil. It's never going to be that.
NWO.
But
I mean, but I guess I'm just, the reason why I'm saying that is because I think we can always forecast doom and gloom, as you can listen to our history of podcasts where I think every 6 months, 12 months or so, you guys predict the end of the industry. If you recall the Ouya discussions on how video games are dead.
It's crumbling around us.
No,
yeah.
The Ouya is about how video games are coming back.
No, you guys, I think that you're on record saying how we're all dead, nothing's going on after 2018.
Yes, certainly, I think I had stopped doomsaying quite as bad by 2018. I think that you petered off around 2014 or so. Whenever
Have I
the
been
PS4 came
doomsaying? You guys tell me. Have I been? Oh my god, I had no idea.
Unless it's about a top-loading PlayStation 3, Jamie, you are terrified of it.
I love the top-loading PlayStation 3. That's one of my favorites. Anyway, I don't think I'm doomsaying.
Looking at one right now. Beautiful.
Per se, Griff. I think, I have some concerns, right? But I think, look, we already live in a society full of monopolies.
Oh, yeah.
The 21st century is the age of monopoly. I hate to say it, but that is the world we live in, where companies like Amazon and Facebook and Google and other big boys, they operate virtually unfettered. They're transnational, right? They answer to no one. I mean, this is the reality we're already in. It's not like playing video games is going to become not fun anymore, right? Like, there are systemic issues that already exist, and I don't know if they're going to get better or not. Hopefully, I mean, hopefully Microsoft is a nice master or whatever, but like, I mean, those problems are already there, right? Like, it's not like things are going to massively change.
When I take a step back, I can't help but be excited because if I look at what they've done and the games that they've promoted on Game Pass, games like Psychonauts 2, it's like I'm happy that they're the ones that are making this kind of move, because I do have a certain level of trust in, I don't know, Phil's vision or Microsoft's vision for what makes a good game and what can sell a service.
Yeah.
And I'm excited that those types of games are in there.
I get that, and I agree with that to a degree, but on the other hand, I think that ascribing an identity to an entity whose purpose is creating wealth and amassing revenue and profits is not necessarily dangerous, but in the super long run, a little bit foolhardy, right? Because it only takes someone else stepping in, or a shift, some imperceptible shift that we have no control over. It's like, well, yes, I'll give you the reins of power because I like you. It's like, well, then what happens,
Very true.
in 10 years when the situation's different, right? Like, we all loved Google because they said don't be evil. Now nobody likes Google. Like, everyone's like, Google sucks. They're the worst. And I'm not saying Microsoft's not the worst. Like, they're fine. Like, I like Microsoft. They're cool. They're probably my favorite big publisher right now, just in terms of the stuff they're doing. I'm just saying monopoly is generally bad. I mean, I'm not saying the world is ending, though. I mean,
Yeah.
Do you think Clippy will come back
already?
I think Clippy's going to be a new character in Killer Instinct.
I just want
Nope,
if they put
that
Clippy
doesn't
in,
make
can they
sense.
give me an alternate Clippy skin where he's pregnant Clippy?
I remember.
Who owns Tumblr? Is that Microsoft? They might be able to do that for you, Geoff.
I think Yahoo owns Tumblr, but they might have unloaded them.
Yeah.
They bought them, and then they were like, no more porn, and then everyone was like, well, I guess I'm not going to go to Tumblr anymore.
Yeah. Well, Jamie, I'm glad you said what you said, because I'm with you there. Like, that's kind of Geoff. That was my point in going on my long ramble there. Is I think that anybody who has a sane head on their shoulders can look at this and say, this is probably, we're on the Titanic sinking, right? This is bad for everybody for the most part. But knowing that this is our reality, and unless the GW protocols happen and Kojima was right and Y2K is actually getting the philosophers together to end all marketplaces, this is just how it's going to be. So when you say I have to hand the reins over, well, I would rather hand the reins over to a benevolent master than an asshole.
If you have to do it, then you might as well choose someone you like, right?
Yeah.
And I think also, if I had to share some hopes, right? Like, I am hopeful that there will be, some reckoning with the cultural problems that Activision has, right? Like you said,
no, I hope they keep it the same.
Yeah, right. Like,
fuck them up.
Leave the culture alone. But
fuck them up, Phil.
I think the expectation that Microsoft has kind of subtly set with their announcement is like, we're going to fix this. We're going to make this better. And that's cool. Like, how weird would it be if Jeff Kaplan came back?
I would love it.
That's the guy.
He's
who's
the only
working
one
on
that can
Overwatch.
save my favorite multiplayer game.
Yeah.
Save it.
There's a lot of interesting. If you're just thinking in terms of like stuff you're excited for in the future, then like there's some really interesting prospects there in the midterm. Long term, it's probably a bad thing, but in the midterm, there's some cool stuff.
Yeah, and I also agree with you guys in your statement in that I wouldn't want to see this behavior happening, right? Like, I think that there is a positive light here in that we're seeing Activision Blizzard as, lawsuit and culture aside, like the products that are coming out of that company from a consumer side have been not great. So if this is also an opportunity to breathe a breath of fresh air and some life into a group of creatives, then that would be ideal, and we can start seeing some of the good old stuff that we were seeing before come from that group.
Yeah. Did you read that thing about how apparently Warzone is like just broken right now because all the devs who are working on it are striking?
It's the QA teams, right? The Raven QA groups.
Oh, is it the QA teams that are striking? Are they trying to unionize?
I think they're just typically QA, right, gets the short end of the stick in all game stuff and all tech.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that the Raven group was they're I'm gonna be wrong about this, but I think that there was some mixed messaging about their hiring, and then some sudden layoffs and some expectations, and then, as you're saying, too, some revolt against the company.
That it was just like a walk off or something. Like it was some action where they have refused to work, and like the game is like broken.
Good. That's what a walk off should do. That's how these places are going to unionize eventually, if they ever.
Oh God, I hope so. I mean, that's that would be a dream if just like every other media sector, there was some protections for these workers, because it's insane.
Yeah,
that's the worst part of it all. But I mean, I don't know if Microsoft acquiring Activision has anything to do with whether or not that works, but hopefully.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Cool. Well,
we cracked it.
Yeah.
We did. I think we just solved the whole thing.
Yeah.
3 white guys.
Should we call the FTC? There's nothing we can't do.
Yeah, so I don't know. You guys have any last thoughts on anything we didn't cover here? I think we've spent plenty of time discussing this at this point, but stay tuned, right?
I think it's a pretty thorough conversation.
Stay vigilant.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes open, gamers. Yo, what if they try to censor the next Activision game?
Yeah, I know this isn't 100% related, but do you guys ever think about how weird it is that Microsoft, with the last generation, pretty much biffed it really hard in their messaging with the Adam Worth statement of like, always online. If you don't like it, get it Xbox 360. You freaking idiots, learn to play online. And now we just like live that reality tacitly, and all games are all online, and Microsoft is doing extremely well with their online delivery service of video games, and we're praising it, and how that kind of was the reality that we were
but Philly Spence, he came out and he was the good guy. He said, "Aw shucks."
Yeah.
He unzipped his leather jacket.
You know what? I trust him with my online games that are going to end the world. Look, I buy a lot of online games. No, it's a good point, Griff. I think a lot about how Microsoft is pumping so much money into the gaming ecosystem when they are not the leaders. And remember when the scuttlebutt was like, hey, Microsoft might exit gaming? Remember that for a hot minute? That did not happen.
I don't actually. When was that?
Oh, I can't remember. It was either around the time of the Xbox One. I think it was around the time. Well, it has to have been, because the 360 did great. It was around the time of the Xbox One, because the 360 hadn't actually made them that much profit.
Huh.
Because of the level of investment. I think it was more or less a break-even situation, like not just on sales, but like for the whole endeavor. Like they had not pulled in a lot of money in their games and services.
But those faceplates.
It was overspec based on what they wanted it to be. So, not Skyrim, but Oblivion was being co-developed at the same time, and the Oblivion devs at the time, including Pete Hines, were constantly lobbying Microsoft, begging them to include more RAM in the console, and eventually they did, and they ate that cost. So I think there were a couple other instances of that. This is all coming from no-clip documentaries, but I mean they're great. You should check them out if you're not already. But I do think that they kind of ate a little bit of cost at the beginning of that generation for those reasons and more.
There were other things going on, but I think it was around when Satya Nadella came in. There was talk about like, is he going to get rid of it? Is this something that's important? And then Phil, they made a bunch of moves which made it clear that gaming was going to become a pillar. But there was a period of time where there was a lot of like insider talk about like maybe Microsoft isn't going to do this anymore, and clearly that is not what happened. So it's just very interesting.
Remember how Sega made a console and it was pretty cool, but it just like didn't sell good enough, and then they just like stopped.
Yeah, I do.
They just washed their hands.
I just want Sonic Adventure 3, man. It's the jankiest piece of crap. So they got Sonic Forces or Frontiers or some crap. I don't even know what it's called.
Why are they selling Sonic Generations? Why are they selling Sonic Generations like it's a new game?
Why are they making Sonic Mania 2, man?
Nobody had a Wii U?
True. Good point.
I just want Sonic Mania 2.
Yeah, but you got to wade through 15 years of horseshit in order to get
true.
that. I think I was listening to another podcast too where the speculation was that maybe the internal Sony or Sega development teams are a little jealous of the success of Sonic Mania.
I said that last time.
That was you?
Talked.
Okay. Well,
yeah. But you probably heard it somewhere else too, because I think I heard it somewhere else. It's just
Sonic
hilarious,
2
though.
and Domino's Pizza enthusiast and insider Geoff Brewer.
It's like the lock-on cart for Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles. I just lock on my Sonic 2 to a Domino's Pizza. Anyway, hey, we should talk about the other thing we were going to talk about today before this big Activision news dropped, which is video games.
Can it Bridge of Spirits?
Maybe.
yeah,
That
so
might be one of them.
this one might be quick to get out of the way. Is there anything you guys have played in 2022 that has been... I think this is a good way to dip our toe back into Game of the Year of 2021
Sure.
talk. But, did you guys take the break? Did you guys take the December cooling off months to go back and fill out anything that did well through Game Awards or just, conversations on other podcasts that piqued your interest and you're like, wow, hey, this is something that I really enjoyed and I'm glad I went back to it.
I feel like this is Jamie's cue to talk about Kena. I have a game, just before you go, Jamie, I have a game that I played that I really like. It happens to be a 2020 game. I'm happy to save it for a future podcast, but it's real good.
Tell us.
No, keep it there. Yeah,
us.
let's wait until 2023 for it.
I can speak real quickly on it. So I've been playing a game called Horizon's Gate, which we have a category here about sleepers, and this is like the sleeperest of sleepers. It came out, I think, in 2020, although it's been updated through 2022. There was just a new update that came out a few days ago. It is, I'm just going to give you the quick pitch and just tell you that I'm highly addicted to it, but it's a seafaring tactical RPG with a heavy focus on exploration of like a large world map. Sea battles and also land battles with a class system that might do the best job of capturing the spirit of Final Fantasy Tactics of almost any game I've ever played.
Wow.
It's so good. It's nothing special to look at, but it is a super fun game. The plot might as well not really exist. There is minimal plot, but it doesn't matter. The best part of that game is just sailing around, exploring, finding new things. There's so many, like, there is an abundance from a game that was made by just a few people. There are so many different creatures in this game. Like, every new place you find, there's like a new creature, and you get rewarded for exploring. So like if you look at everything that you find, then you get paid and you get more prestige. So like every time I come to like a new area and find like a new weird mob, I'm like so excited. And it's just a joy to play. It's got so much goofy personality, a surprising amount of like little incidental writing about like local specialties, because you can like eat all the local specialties in cafes and stuff. Yeah, it's really fun. I really recommend it, and I don't even know that I need to talk about it so much because again, it is a little old. But yeah, if you guys want to play a PC game, because this is a PC game. Unfortunately, it's not. It could run on a potato, but not any potato console. It has to run on a PC. It's just really, really fun. I have been.
You playing it on the go?
I'm alternating between the Go and the PC.
And Jamie, Geoff, the game is Heaven's Gate.
Horizon's Gate.
Horizon's Gate. Okay, not the cult of Mass Suicide.
Yeah, guys, I'm going to have my own planet. No. It's called Horizon's Gate. It's actually the developer. It's the third in a series of tactics games that all use the same engine, but have slightly different genres. I'm kind of interested in going back and checking the other two out. This one seems like it might be far and away the best, but yeah, It's just really, really fun. And it just reminds me that, like, there is so much stuff on Steam that doesn't get the recognition it deserves, but is, like, truly fantastic. And it might be one of my favorite games I've played in a long time.
Is this a type of game that you beat?
I think I can beat it. I mean, there is a finite amount of world to explore, and there is, like, a plot you can see through. Then there's just a lot of other stuff that you can kind of keep doing relatively in perpetuity, but it's going to get old eventually. Like, I will step away from it at some point.
You think that you'll tire of it before you see it through?
I think I'll...
me.
I think I'll probably explore the entire world if I can, because it's just really fun to sail around. You, like, build a fleet of ships. The sea battles are pretty cool. The whole thing's just really fun. I highly recommend it.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I did do the December thing. I'm going to rapid fire. I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time.
Sure.
But Deltarune chapters 1 and 2, especially chapter 2, beautiful. Yes. Oh my God. Jeff and I have discussed how chapter 2 kind of, we both enjoyed chapter 1, but we felt like it was somewhat tepid, and that it felt like he was dealing with the immense popularity of Undertale, and he didn't necessarily feel confident in himself to take it to a different place. But I believe that he lays the groundwork in chapter 1, and in chapter 2 he really goes to a different place, and I think it pays off wonderfully. It's just an incredible little game, and I'm loving it. All the stuff that you loved about Undertale, the music, the writing, it's just lovely. That's that. I somehow spent like another 200 hours in Animal Crossing New Horizons, which was easy to do on the train because I commute. And I started a whole new island from scratch, really engaging with the DLC stuff, which you get for free with your Nintendo Switch Plus expansion pack online, whatever they call it. That game is also just delightful, and it gave me enough ammunition. I wrote about it significantly in my book that came out in 2021, and I'm writing a review article now for a psychiatric journal that's kind of like a recapitulation of the book. And I'm so glad I played it again, because I'm just going to write a shitload more about Animal Crossing. That game is just fascinating, like in terms of the flow state that it puts you in and all that.
Important question. Where does Brewster get his pigeon milk from?
His ass.
Go on.
It's obvious. Love that man. And then just real quick, I had purchased Kenna Bridge of... I was always interested in Kenna Bridge of Spirits. It always looked like a beautiful game to me. I care about graphics and art style and all that. I bought it a while ago. I played the first couple areas and was not impressed at all. It did not grab me. I did not feel endeared to it at all. Went back to it after the Game of the Year hype, and man, that game is fabulous. It's truly challenging. I thought it might just be me, because I'm not so great at video games, but I've been diving into a little bit because you just need to, much in the way that you would a Souls game, just to figure out how to survive. And there is a huge YouTube community there, and it is a deep technical game that's beautiful, wonderful exploration moments. It somehow captures the feel of like Jak and Daxter, like PS2 era games of that variety, and it feels that way too in some of the platforming. Great platforming elements, and the story is touching. It's a great game, and if you're curious about it at all, I really think it's going to end up being one of my top games of this past year. And then another game, just two more. Lego.
Go for it.
Lego Builder's Journey. I beat. That game is very short. It's excellent. It's well worth your time. It's basically Monument Valley with Legos. Oh my God, what a beautiful game.
What's the platform for that? Is that PS5?
That, I believe, it's on PC. I played it on PC because it has the ray tracing, and I believe you can get it on Xbox as well.
Okay.
Last one. Had absolutely no interest in this game, but I got Guardians of the Galaxy for Xbox Series X, and that game is incredible.
This is what people are saying. As I say on the internet, many people are saying this.
It is the closest thing that we will get to Mass Effect, and it's somehow, I think, going forward, it's the way that you'd lovingly remember the Mass Effect jank. Mm-hmm. But it's better than that, because if you go back and you play Mass Effect, you're like, ugh, why are these guys hanging out in a closet? But in this game, it's just it captures that kind of charm and essence. It's fun. You have the ship that you go back to in between levels. There's ship flying areas.
Can you say my name? I'm Star-Lord, and this is my favorite store in the galaxy.
You can probably say something very similar to that. The dialogue options get there's a lot of forced emotion there that isn't necessarily earned, but I still think that it serves a purpose and it's fun. And if you guys are feeling in the mood for a little Mass Effect and you don't want to go back and play it, this is it's a really cool game. It seems to be on like steep sale. So
really, that's too bad because it got very positive reviews when it came up, but it just seemed doomed to fail after kind of a poor showing, and the fact that the Avengers game was garbage.
yeah, but that's it for me. Thank you guys for listening.
No. I think Griffin stepped away, but I'm super interested, and I also wanted to push a little more on Guardians. If I don't like superheroes, if I'm really fatigued with superheroes, can I still enjoy Guardians?
I think you can. I think that you would have to. I think having some. Did you see the movies?
I saw Guardians 1, which I quite liked.
So I think that you definitely could then. I think having some passing familiarity with the characters will definitely benefit you, because it really just throws you in a good way. Like it doesn't hit you over the head with the lore, but it lets you know that the lore is there. I'm not reading everything, not by a long shot. I'm just kind of hitting the big points, and I feel like that's probably the way to play this game.
Okay.
And it really kind of whisks you along at a brisk pace. The story is involved. The acting is great. It's like it's so funny. It's like I feel like I haven't played a game that's this heavily voice acted in some time. And like just a huge portion of the game is just staring at a character's face as they talk for a long time.
If that ain't Mass Effect, I don't know what is.
Interesting dialogue choices and a lot of difficult decisions.
Okay.
Early on, you have a decision. You can either keep... You salvage two things from a wreck. You salvage some like cool looking weapons and like a space llama. And you have to only keep one.
That's not a choice.
It's like...
Yeah, you got to keep the space llama.
What the fuck,
time.
dude? Yeah.
Oh, I did. I
Good.
did.
Okay.
And they like follow that choice through, and it has repercussions. Good game, guys. Good game.
All right.
I've heard good things about it, Jamie. I think that is firmly on my list of games that I will never play.
Totally
Maybe I'll grab it at Blockbuster.
No, grab it when it's literally $5.
Maybe I will. I did recently. You'll be happy to hear this, Jamie. I haven't played much yet. I did grab Blasphemous for $6.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
I played the first like 20 minutes. Really fun. Anyway,
love that game.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm excited about Lego. That's free, right? The Lego game.
Oh yeah.
I believe I don't want to talk on my ass. I paid no. I got it for free.
Okay. Yeah, I want to check that out. I should be doing more of these interactive experiences. I didn't do the Matrix one either. I don't know why. Also, Jamie, have you seen the Matrix yet?
No, I haven't done it yet. No.
Oh man, you got to check that movie out.
Watch that movie.
It's a real hoot.
I do the Matrix experience first?
No,
and then
you don't need to worry about that.
You have to watch the first 3 movies, though.
No, he means
absolutely.
Does he have to do the
you have to
Unreal
watch
5 thing?
You have to watch the first 3 movies and then play Enter the Matrix and then do the Matrix Online.
Where does the Animatrix fit into this?
And then you have to not canon.
What about the Matrix Path of Neo?
Then you have to watch all of How I Met Your
DVD.
Mother to get all the Neil Patrick Harris scene, and then the new Doogie Howser.
Griffin, having given that, just as a brief aside, having given that movie a little time to percolate, is it a good movie, or is it just? Are you just delighted that it exists?
Why is that separate?
That's a great point. You know what? You've answered my question wonderfully. There's some parts of the movie where I'm like, this is bad, but then I'm like, actually, this is great.
Yeah, man. It's nice over here.
Did you guys see Bill and Ted 3?
No,
I did, but I don't think I was with it for the whole film. But I liked it.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
It was
I thought
one of those things
enjoyable.
where it was better than it should have been.
Oh yeah, 100%. Better than it had any right to be.
Yeah.
Matrix, I wouldn't say Matrix 4 is necessarily better than it should have been. It's more like a swerve that I know a lot of people are going to be really, really mad about, but I'm happy they did it.
Are you happy because it made people mad?
Kind of.
The thing that's interesting about it, Geoff, is I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I don't know anybody, or have I seen any like real person or anything on dumping on the movie.
That's the other really interesting thing, Griff. I'm actually glad you said that, because I have a friend who watched it, and I was like, he's kind of discerning. He's not going to like this. And he was like, no, I actually kind of enjoyed it a lot. And I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I had the same thing where some folks wanted to see the film, and I dissuaded them from watching it due to...
It's a little embarrassing.
No, not that. Assuming that the politics of the film may not sit well, and it wasn't, at least like the feedback that I heard was it wasn't like what I was expecting. At the worst, it was like maybe just went over heads or not worth conversation. I don't know. So, yeah.
So I shouldn't watch it with my parents.
No, you should.
Okay.
You'll have a great time. If your dad and mom are in the room, you're going to have a lot of fun.
They're going to ask a lot of questions.
Make sure they're
they ask
not
a lot
there
of
for the
questions
horny
all the
parts.
I don't feel like it was that horny. It was less horny than Matrix Reloaded.
I don't.
Just featured a woman eating a cake and having an orgasm. Remember that? When they showed Matrix orgasm coming out of her?
I didn't believe it. Not possible.
She faked it.
So, other games you guys were playing catch up on.
Yeah, we did that. We're good.
You guys are good.
Yeah, we caught up on games. Griff, have you played anything of late?
I played Halo. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. You like it?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
It's a Halo.
It's a Halo. I mean, the last one I played was what, Halo 4? So yeah.
Craig?
I think so. I don't know.
All right.
Craig was looking. There was a cute little Easter egg right at the top of some big tower where you.
More like an Easter Craig.
Exactly, it was. It was Craig's like performance rock band stage setup. It was really neat. I enjoyed that quite a bit.
It's very good.
Yeah. It's fine. I think it hit at a time and place for a lot of folks, and unfortunately, it probably won't have the persistence, because it's kind of flat.
Maybe, yeah.
I think Destiny does it better.
Yeah. It seemed like people were pretty excited about Halo Infinite when it came out. I'm not hearing a lot about it now, other than them continuing to adjust microtransaction prices, but I also don't know what's going on. I don't know what people are super into right now. Like, I kind of know, but I don't feel like I have my finger on the pulse of that, so I couldn't really say.
I don't think it's reaching an audience that's going to keep it alive. I think it's hit with a lot of the game journos that we are in tune with, and it was a lot of nostalgia flashback for a lot of folks, which then hit at the time of the year. And it's a good game, right? And it looks good, and it plays well, and it's Halo, and it's familiar. But I don't think it's going to have the longevity that
do you
something
think
like
the
Destiny
multiplayer
will have
a long tail or no? I mean, it's free.
In the same way that any Halo does, right? Like where it has its cult following, but I don't think it's gonna. I can't see. I hope that there's like a season pass design and there's content roadmaps and it's good, right? Like, I mean, obviously that's what they're going for by saying this is the future of Halo, and I hope all that stuff is well executed. But I don't know how you hook in people who aren't already in the Halo infrastructure.
Well, I think the way you do it is you say, "Hey, come to Game Pass. We have Halo." Like, I think it's pretty much that,
Yeah,
it's
but
like...
I'm saying from the side of folks who are like, I don't care, right? Like, there's plenty of people, young people, who don't have the hooks and are saying like, well, why am I going to play Halo? I've got Fortnite. I'm already invested in my.
It's interesting because I feel like they've done what they wanted to do with Halo Infinite with Forza Horizon 5. That game had a huge opening weekend, seems to have grabbed some attention that's persisting. It's a fabulous game. And I think it's really pushing the whole franchise forward. And I feel like that's obviously what they would have loved for this. I'm not sure it's doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that the goalposts move a little bit when your target is subscriptions, right? And I think that if they can convincingly argue, and I don't know how they do that, maybe they look at hours played, whatever, that this is a value add, that this brings people to the service. I guess the point I was trying to make is like, maybe it doesn't have to be, like it sold this many units because it's free on Game Pass and it's a Game Pass value add, and I just think the metrics are a little bit more fuzzy with that. I don't know. Maybe the talk is that it's not doing as well as it could have or whatever. I'm not really, again, plugged into that. I didn't know Forza had such a good opening.
Yeah. Apparently it had like one of the biggest weekends on Game Pass on record or something like that. But it's interesting what you said, Geoff, because it reminded me of do you guys listen to Insert Credit Podcast with Frank Sfaldi and Brandon Sheffield and all those people? Mm-mm. No. So Brandon Sheffield is a developer, and
Isn't
he was
he
talking.
A friend of Tim Rogers?
Yes.
No.
He made Enter the Gungeon and a bunch of, or he heads up the studio that made Enter the Gungeon.
Awesome.
And they were talking on one of their recent podcasts, and he was saying that in this new landscape of like services and stuff like that, he was saying how he's basically, in terms of doing business, his ability to like sell a game like via number of copies has just atrophied, and he feels like he doesn't actually know how to do that anymore. But what he does know how to do is convince a service that it's a good value add to have his game on the service.
See, that's what I was getting at, right? It just becomes a different metric. In the age of Netflix, it's like, obviously having a show that people watch is important, but having a show that diversifies your platform also important.
Yeah.
I mean, especially as an indie dev, if it's a one-off investment, right? It's like, well, I just dropped 10K and I get this thing, or I drop 50K and I get this in perpetuity. Then that's easy. Mm-hmm. But I wonder how it plays for these larger projects. I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting. I'm sure we could talk circles around it, but I don't want to belabor it too much. But a little disappointed to hear that it was kind of flat, but I guess not altogether surprised. I still need to try it.
Would this Halo be the first high-profile video game that is supposed to be service or is so service-oriented that is going to have a service fee tied to it directly? Like, you have to have Xbox Games Pass to play it?
Maybe? I don't know.
Because Destiny is free. Fortnite is free.
What about Final Fantasy 14, Griffin?
14 is free
up until a point.
I mean, well, you pay for the product, right? There is 14. You're paying for the expansion, but you're not.
No, aren't there monthly subscription fees?
I don't know. Is there?
I'm pretty sure there are.
So you don't pay a subscription fee until you get to a portion of game content?
I will look it up.
Huh. Okay, well that's even very interesting. Oh yeah, well not worth
that's
speculation.
That's how WoW works now. WoW, you get to level 40 or whatever, and then you pay.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
There is a subscription for 14.
Okay, and WoW has a subscription pay as well.
WoW, you can just play until you, I believe, hit level 40, or at least it was that when Axel was trying to sell me on the game a couple months ago.
Huh.
And then you pay. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I thought that they went off that, but I guess no. Huh.
Maybe it's like the first non-MMO though to really operate in this way. Although you could still just buy it, right? You can still buy Halo, right?
Yeah, but then by saying it's, how does the multiplayer play along with that? You know what I mean?
It's just free. It's free for everyone.
But if you don't have Games Pass,
it's free.
What?
You don't need Game Pass to play the multiplayer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a free game?
It's free.
Huh.
Wasn't there some hullabaloo? They were going to say that you needed gold or something, and then they walked that back?
Maybe, but it's just free.
Wild. Okay. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, maybe you need live. I don't know, but otherwise it's free. I mean, you do not need Game Pass.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
cool. Thanks for filling me in on those information. I mean, I was thinking that in about WoW today with the merger talk as well. So that's interesting that WoW does still have subscription and there is a way to play Halo absolutely free.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get any of the cosmetics. Like, there's no way to earn that
Goodness
currency.
gracious.
Yeah. So you just have to watch while the cool American suits go away.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Lost the ball.
I just wanted to say, and I'm going to, just to kind of really get people fired up, I want to put forward a provocative claim and see if you guys feel differently about it.
Provoke me.
Not that provocative, but just a claim about the year. Not a lot going on this year.
2022 or
prove me wrong.
2021?
2021. Prove me wrong.
Jeff, I had the same thought until I looked at my list of games that I played and how it was one of the larger lists that I have amassed over years for new games. So I'm with you. There was something about 2021 that was like nothing really earth-shattering, nothing that really that defined huge moments. But I think that there's a lot more out there that we forgot. You guys were crazy about Hitman, right? You were really into the Hitman 3, a 2021 game?
Yeah.
Hitman was really good. My problem with Hitman is I always play it for like a solid 10 hours and then play like 2 levels, and then I'm like, all right, I'm exhausted. This is so cool, but I'm done.
I play a little more.
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with that, right?
No, not at all. It's a great game.
Whenever anyone says the word Hitman, I'm like, oh my god, I want to go back and play it right now,
Yeah,
and then I never do.
It's kind of evergreen. It's just, there's something about it that's really special. They're all like the same game, but just a little better each one. That murder mystery level was really cool.
Yeah. Oh my god. And this one like literally wrapped the levels from the previous games into like the level chooser.
Yeah.
If you are on a platform that can do that, and if you've purchased those games.
Yeah.
It is the same game.
You're right, Griff. It almost feels like that was so long ago, though. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't feel like a 2021 game.
No, you're right.
Was
You're right.
Ratchet and Clank this year?
Yeah, so let me maybe I'll do this and I'll walk you through my top 10 here, which I published on the website.
Sure.
But here are the top 9 games of 2021 for me, and you tell me if these all ring a bell. Obviously, Metroid's bread is the bread and butter of the year, right? And then you've got Death's Door is on my list. Psychonauts.
I haven't touched yet. Yeah,
Psychonauts 2, Guilty Gear. This one you may have forgotten about. Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. Early in the year, very very good.
I did forget about that. And Griff, when I saw your list, I was like, oh my god! Like I couldn't believe that was even a thing that came out this year again. And that came out I think in February, right?
Yeah, I can't say. I don't know.
Something like that. That was. I mean, Bowser's Fury was fabulous. It was a wonderful little game.
Mm-hmm.
I 100% of that game.
Yeah, I love that game.
Yeah, and it definitely, I think, deserves recognition for a lot of reasons. So yeah, I appreciate that you put that there, Griff.
Yeah. And Jamie, to your point, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart this last year, 2021, middle of the year. That was very good.
I think it was more than very good. I absolutely loved that game and played it obsessively, collected all the guns, collected all the upgrades. It's definitely like a perfect distillation of what makes those games great. It's definitely the best of those.
Can I tell you what I think actually makes this feel like a minor year to me? So,
Crippling depression?
well, only for like the first half. Come on. No, so Bowser's Fury, lovely game. But a shorter game, like maybe a 3-hour experience if you're 100%ing it, maybe 4 hours. And then Metroid Dread, which possibly my favorite game of the year, just to spoil where I'm at. But those were the Nintendo games, which of course are like, for me are more important than any other game.
What about Ace Attorney?
Ace Attorney was an amazing game. It is an old game that finally made its way stateside, and I think it's a sleeper hit that you should pay attention to. But so all those games were great. But then there was like really nothing else on other platforms that I really engaged with, and that's kind of my fault because my big PS5 is expensive and the games are expensive, and It's a lot, man.
They are expensive. $70 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. It almost doesn't feel real to own one either. It's just like they're so scarce. I don't know. It's a whole thing.
I got 2, baby.
You do have 2. Don't announce that publicly. Someone's coming to your house. There's a psychology in it for me. But anyway, Griff, carry on with your list. Sorry to.
No. I think what there feels like there is just something missing, and I would say, and this, Geoff, will lead you to talking about something. I think for me on my list and my feelings for the year is there wasn't something that I felt like I stuffed in, 40, 50 hours worth of my attention like a Persona would be for me in previous years or something, that's a big meaty JRPG. But I know you had one that was pretty significant to you.
Yeah. So I played a lot of Tales of Arise, and we talked about that at the time, and that was another one that I almost kind of forgot about, and it was the biggest reason I was on my PS5 this year was Tales of Arise, and that actually was a pretty great game. I would say it was kind of solidly AA, like maybe almost AAA, but not quite. I'm sure.
I'm picking up what you're putting down there.
Yeah, I'm sure the development budget was insane, and calling it AA is like a slap in the face. It felt AA.
Yeah.
It felt like great AA. I really enjoyed it, but yeah, it was just really fun. This was a year when I went back and revisited some things. I cleaned up a little bit. Like I played Tales of Arise, which was great, but then I also played Dragon Quest, which was phenomenal. So it's like, when I have those two things next to each other, it's like, well, yeah, that was a fun time in Tales of Arise, but again, it kind of it feeds this idea that the year was like kind of a lesser year.
I think it's I would guess it's this, right? For me, I felt like there was something lacking, that I was missing the big long Tetris block that's like, wow, man, this sure took up a lot of my time. I think maybe what I have on my list here is something like an Inscryption, which was like the holy shit, this came out of nowhere. This is changing the medium. This is, a video game that is wild and kind of breaking your expectations in ways that you wouldn't even think are possible. And I think maybe this year kind of lacked that for you.
I think, yeah, maybe I needed an Inscryption type moment, right? Like I have Inscryption, but I haven't played it yet, and that might be what was missing for me, just something that was really, as you said, like really impactful and felt like it really characterized my experience of like the year, like something like just really out there and cool. And yeah, there wasn't really any of that.
I also feel like the year itself, the way that our lives are now, it kind of, I mean, you're spending a lot of time at home, right? And I feel like just by nature of what I do and the fact that I still need to commute, and when I get to work, I still have a lot of time to myself, a lot more time because everyone's avoiding each other. The Switch has become like something that on a productive work day, I will spend 3 hours on. And I feel like that was almost like a privilege that I had because of the nature of my work. And it allowed me to take deep dives into things like Animal Crossing New Horizons expansion, like Happy Home Designer, things that I wouldn't have done normally.
Yeah.
But just by virtue of how my life was, I was afforded that opportunity. Do you think that played a role?
I think for me, I mean, it just ended up that, I played the big kind of tentpole release of the fall, which was Metroid Dread, which I thought was a phenomenal game. I maybe held it in the highest esteem out of the three of us. I don't know. But regardless,
I love that game.
After that, I played a lot of Dragon Quest. Like a lot of Dragon Quest.
Well, that game's incredible.
It's incredible. And, it just happened to be a cleanup year for me. And maybe it had something to do with the milieu. Maybe it had something to do with being at home and not feeling. Maybe the lack of motion made me less desirous of new products. I don't know. But, yeah, I think there probably was a lull because, right, we're still dealing with the slowdown from pandemic, and it is kind of a launch year for the new consoles, so there wasn't a whole lot of major stuff coming out. And the stuff that came out didn't super appeal to me. I think that's part of it. Like, Griff, I know you really like Deathloop, right? Like, that was on your list, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, Deathloop, my favorite game of the year. And then there's also Call of Duty Vanguard, came out this year, modern consoles. Not on my list anywhere, for good reason. But I think that you're pointing out a lack of content that appealed to you, with the there not being enough on modern console, and your precious Nintendo baby not produce, kind of in a waning year, as it's ramping up into presumably a new device in the future here soon. So understandably, but I think that the year still was, when you inspect it, full of a lot of really cool shit. Like, to counterpoint myself, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intermission sucked ass, but that was there, and people who liked 7 probably liked this game.
Jeff, you liked it, right?
I liked it. The story was ridiculous, but parts of it were good.
I still have to play.
Griff, are you just mad about all the Crisis Core or before Crisis nonsense or whatever? Cerberus, Dirge of Cerberus.
Oh, the acknowledgement of the better games? No, I'm just kidding. No.
What made it suck ass for you?
Almost for the same reason as I kind of, as I was exploring my thoughts on Psychonauts 2, Final Fantasy Intermission kind of fell into the same category, where I was just getting very impatient with it. And looking back at my time spent with either of those games, overall the vibe was not a positive one for me.
Interesting.
So I can speak to very specifically Final Fantasy VII Remake being frustrating in that the combat and the what I thought was interesting at the outset, where you're one character who's taking on the combat in a game where it's multi-character focused, and enemy management with ATB is complex, and made now even more complex with only having one character, and in the ways that they worked around that. As that just kept on going, it became more frustrating and more tedious and less interesting, and I think that's partly because of the lack of the third character by the end of that game, and really it felt like it was either the lack of the third character that felt like I was missing something, or maybe I was just completely missing something, and I felt like the combat was, 1, uninteresting, and 2, a struggle. And then I also thought a lot of what I was doing in that game was not interesting. Kind of it being supplementary to what's happening in the Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I found the plot elements to be a little bit absurd. I also found the combat initially
what did you enjoy about this thing, Geoff? Because
hold on, I also found the combat initially extremely challenging, but then after I mastered it, so easy that the last boss I beat in like 10 seconds.
Okay, interesting.
I was just like, oh, once you crack certain elements of this combat, it is a cakewalk.
Fascinating. Did you level up? Did you focus? I don't know. Was there grinding?
I don't even remember.
Okay.
Ultimately, it was a fairly breezy experience. I did kind of like the relationship between Sonon and Yuffie. I thought that was fun.
Oh, yes, me too. I enjoyed that part of it.
I liked her as a character. The Dirge stuff was like, oh boy, here we go again. I don't know about this. Scarlet was cool. I liked her. And the mini game was fun. Well, I can't remember what it was called.
Fort Condor was great.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
Except I sucked at it.
I thought it was a worthy DLC.
Yeah, it was fine. I was hoping to like it more, and ultimately I don't. I think I walked away from it less interested in Final Fantasy VII content, aside from another iteration, large iteration. Yeah. But am I looking forward to Final Fantasy VII Remake Introduction? I don't know. What part 2? No, not really. I need the second big chunk of that game for me to bring me back in.
I hope we don't have to fight Vice in the main game. I'm gonna cry. I hate it.
I don't know who Vice is.
He's one of the guys. I don't know. Vice and Lamar or something. I don't know.
Nice. Geoff, Nintendo fan extraordinaire. Mario Golf. Did you play it? Super Rush? Did it?
I did. It was fun.
Did you enjoy it?
It's every Mario sports game. It's a great time for I don't know, a bunch of time, and then no one else is playing it, so that was the end of that. It's fun.
I played it. I liked it.
Yeah.
I would play with you, but it is every Mario sports game.
Also, speaking of games that Nintendo games that I've come to appreciate a lot more as an adult, I play a lot of Mario Party these days. I know, Griff, you may not understand, but it has become a staple in our home. Superstars is pretty fun. I'm just saying. It's a good game.
You know that in Super Rush, it's built into the accuracy meter, like unmitigatable amounts of randomness.
That's
so
fine.
There's fucking tripping in Super Rush, so you can't actually hit your shots, even if you're 100% dead on.
I mean, look, it's a party game, basically.
Yeah.
You can run to the hole.
Yeah, I enjoyed the stupefaction of it. That was good.
I did not know that, Griff. That's a little weird. I don't know why they would do that, but I guess I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
But I had fun with Super Rush. It felt like a competent golf game.
Yeah, I enjoyed playing it with a friend, but I'm not going to play that alone when there's certain weird things happening under the hood.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah, Jessica and I played it a few times, and I kept beating her, and she got mad, so that was the end of that.
Jamie, you are the world's biggest No More Heroes fan based on your physical library. What did you think of 3?
I haven't touched it at all. I don't think I've ever played a No More Heroes game.
Hoping to resell. We got Scalper Extraordinaire, 2 PS5s,
2 PS5s,
full box No More Heroes collection.
Yep. Sorry.
Lousy with graphics cards. Damn.
What did you think
Geoff,
of it, Griff?
Oh, it sucked. It was terrible. It's much like all the other No More Heroes games. It's all style, zero substance.
I watched gameplay footage of it, and I was like, this looks atrocious.
Yeah,
I've really soured on Suda 51. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I think he's kind of bad.
It's got a great opening cutscene.
Cool.
Yeah, Geoff, Pokemon Snap came out this year? Another Switch product.
That came out this year?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that needs to be on my Game of the Year list. I did not even realize that was a 2021 release. That was an incredible game. I loved Pokemon Snap so much.
This is what this year does to your brain. I feel you, man. But tell me why I should pick that game up, because I played that game for like a day. I was like, sweet, I'm going to dive in. Never did.
It's okay. How much do you like? When you see a Pokemon, do you think it's really cute?
Yes.
Do you wish you could take a cute picture of it?
Yeah.
That's the whole game. It's really
What
fun.
if you could play Animal Crossing without the debt?
Not interested.
The fun of Pokemon of Pokemon Snap is 100% just the exploration. It's like chucking a bunch of balls around, and then like a freaking, I don't know, Togepi hops out, and you're like, oh my god, it's a Togepi! Oh my god! Like,
Geoff, do you approach that game with a randomness, or do you approach it with a methodical, I'm going to try and do these actions to find a new Pokemon?
If I'm playing a level for the first time, I will try things, but like I am just experiencing the joy of discovery.
Gotcha.
Like, it is all about the most fun moments. Like, I've never had a game, well, that's not true, but Pokemon Snap, like few other games, rewards just like the pure dopamine centers of my brain every time it like shows me a new cute boy doing something cute. Like, I don't know, I'll be like, oh my god, that Sylveon is really cool. What would happen if I played a lullaby for her? And then she like does a little snuggle, and I'm like, oh my god, this is the cutest thing ever. Like, that's the whole game.
So I kind of go in with the clinical side of it, where I'm like, okay, I got to maximize my photo scores here. What interaction do I need? What button do I have to do to prompt this thing to do this cute thing so I take a picture?
I'll run through the course a few times and try to get
the joyometer for me tops out pretty low. Nonetheless, I had a good time playing it, and I went back to it a couple times. But I think that if Jamie, to your point, to your question, if it's not immediately like pumping you full of delicious brain drugs,
yeah,
I don't think it's gonna hook you back.
This is the problem, Jamie. You do not own enough Pokemon stuffed animals to care.
I have a few.
Do you have
I
some?
guess not enough.
Do you clean your Pokemon's litter box? And when you do you huff the dust?
Wait, what Pokemon do you have? I didn't know this.
I have literally from back in the day. I have a giant stuffed Pikachu.
Oh, that's right.
There one other Pokemon besides Pikachu, you bastard.
I was telling a friend about your giant stuffed Pikachu and how I used to violate it on the regular. I love that
Good
thing.
times.
My friend just
Yeah.
got a giant stuffed Pikachu, and it reminded me of the old days.
Good. I'm glad. Nothing beats that Pikachu. That Pikachu has seen some stuff.
That Pikachu
Gross.
has Mookie humped it yet?
Mookie has humped everything in this home. We just found out that Mookie is mostly Pekingese.
I heard this. I love
This
Peaks.
was-
They're
this was-
ugly and
this was,
hilarious.
yes. It was shock to us all, though.
But yeah, Jamie, if you don't squeal with abject delight upon seeing a new Pokemon doing a funny thing, that's like the best part of the game. So you have to evaluate.
But I do.
Okay, well then
I
just
do.
play the heck out of it. It's really fun.
And I know that I can enjoy a Nintendo-style game where, like Animal Crossing, where the focus isn't necessarily on like optimization and
Well,
where the focus is on just kind of brewing in the stew of Pokemon.
I mean, you do optimize. You're taking better and better pictures.
There is
And
optimization.
You can farm different poses and stuff. By getting
And in
them to
fact,
do
the game
things.
is gated by it.
Yeah, there is a degree of optimization because you want to replay the stages to unlock like evolved forms of the stages that have like new Pokemon and different variants and stuff.
And you have to
Okay.
engage in better photo quality to
Yeah.
get those things. So
It's fun though. I mean, if you like taking pictures, then it's a fun game.
if
own
you
an
like
iPhone.
taking Pokemon pictures,
Yes, if you really like, I feel like you have to really like Pokemon. Like really like them. Like you know what I mean.
Jamie, did you put me on to Cyber Shadow? Did you finish that
Yeah.
game? How much did
I
you
did
love? That was
not.
earlier this year.
I very much enjoyed it. I really can't remember why I stopped. There was a lot going on for me early. I mean, like, I was transitioning to my current job, and there was a lot up in the air. So I feel like that was kind of in the way. But I did love that game. I didn't beat it. I played a good deal of it. What did you think?
I'm just looking it up. It is 2020, so but I ended up picking it up too, and that was actually something I was going to bring up. Is before we got into more of the deeper dive of 2021, I did end up getting an Xbox Series X and really capitalizing on a lot of the Games Pass games. So Cyber Shadow does fall into that category. I played it initially on PC, but you know, it is available on Xbox, and I played it, but very quickly did I realize that it is too challenging for me to really commit to. It's hard.
It does seem very difficult, very unforgiving, very like pixel perfect-y feeling.
Guys, what if the
Yeah.
problem with 2021 is that old games are too discoverable now?
Old
Thanks,
games
Game Pass.
are too discoverable.
So there's no new games to play because all the old games are everywhere.
Oh,
He's right.
yeah, we've got too much on our plates. I see.
I'm just being a goof. Cyber Shadow. So yeah, you thought it was too hard, Griff?
I thought it was too hard, but I still enjoyed what it was one of those games where I'm like, I totally get it. This one's just not for me, and it is for a group of folks who would really like it. In the same way that Guilty Gear Strive was 100% a game for me, and it's a game that not a lot of other folks like. Well, I shouldn't say other folks. It's a game you guys won't be playing.
That's correct. I will never play Guilty Gear Strive. Saw
Correct.
that guy.
Yes, you will never play it. You will never watch the 4-hour-long anime that is the story mode in the game.
Absolutely not.
You won't have to read the article in the in-game Wikipedia about Bedman.
Okay, you're gonna hate me, but this is a fighting game.
Yes, it is a fighting game.
I don't hate
Okay.
you at all. I know you're talking to Griffin, but I also was wondering if Guilty Gear Strive was a fighting game because a lot of people were talking about it, and I was like, oh, maybe it's something different. And I was like, no, it's just Guilty Gear.
No, and in
So-
fact, I've watched some videos of the precursor. I think it was Xrd, and it's there is so much similarity between these two games in terms of characters and function and and abilities and stuff like that. That I'm like, shit, man, is this even like? Is this just more of an HD remake type of a thing?
People
So I
really
don't
like it.
know. Yeah, people. It is getting highly regarded, but again, I don't know if it's. I can't speak to if it's like a vast improvement on Xrd or if it's taking it in new directions. I know that I like what I played with it, and I know that I've seen the Rubicon it is far too it's way too complex for me at this point. But
remember BlazBlue?
Yes, I do.
No.
BlazBlue was created by Arc System Works when they briefly lost the license to Guilty Gear, and they wanted to make Guilty Gear, but they just made another weird thing called BlazBlue.
BlazBlue is freaking great.
Yeah, people really like it. It just turned into its own thing.
One of the most original. It might be maybe Skullgirls is. It's either that or Skullgirls for most unique fighting game that's ever occurred.
I owned it for a hot minute. I was not good at it. Fighting games just break my brain, man. Except for Smash, which I still don't. I don't really play that anymore either. So
they don't
break my brain.
Did you guys play any of that new Jackbox? Speaking of some family fun party games.
No,
Which one's the new one?
Jackbox Party Pack 8, I believe. Well, I could look up what it has in it. But I think Trivia Murder Party 2. I played it a couple times.
We did. We played a lot of that. Like a lot, actually. And I love Trivia Murder Party 2. That's a great one. We do Zoom parties with some of our friends in the city. It's kind of died out in the last couple months, but we have definitely played 8, and we like it a lot.
All right, so it has Job, Wheel of Enormous Proportions, Drawful, Pull Mine, Weapons Drawn. So this one, 7 would have been the one you're thinking of, Jamie.
Okay, we've played 7.
Yeah.
I have not played.
Yeah, I feel like we're with the age of the Zoom party coming to a close. It's like I haven't had occasion to play Jackbox in a while.
Yeah,
it's rare that I have 4 people in my house.
Yeah,
that's true.
But yeah, no, I know it's a series that you've always kind of kept an eye on, Griff, and I have engaged with it from time to time. Have you played 8? Do you like it?
I played 8, but as I'm reading these names, all I remember is playing Wheel of Enormous Proportions, which it was very much just like a simple kind of trivia style game.
T-shirt game still owns. I can't remember what it's called.
TKO. Yeah.
Yes. And then was Gardic Phone is basically that, except better. Or I don't know if it's better, but it's basically that. Do you guys know Gardic Phone?
I've never heard of it.
No.
It's essentially it's a game that I think blew up this year, and there was a lesser known version of it called Broken Picture Phone, but essentially it's a game where someone I think draws and then labels a picture, and then the picture is shown to another person who then has to label it themselves, and then from that label someone else has to draw a new picture, and so on and so on, and then you see the whole thread of what everyone
I like that type of game.
Yeah. It's very funny.
Interesting. It seems cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a great little social game.
Neat. I think we're kind of probably drawing an end here on things. I can keep going through a list, but I think it might be time to pack up just the regulated discussion of 2021. I think we've all kind of talked about a little bit of what our favorites were. Jamie, maybe not you. Do you have a standout for this last year?
It's got to be, for me, Ratchet and Clank, A Rift Apart.
Wow.
That game is just wonderful. And of all the games that I poured time into, I didn't pour time into that probably, other than Animal Crossing, which doesn't count because it's Animal Crossing and it does something to my brain that no one understands. I feel like that game just commanded so much of my time. I felt addicted to it. I loved collecting everything. I loved the whimsy. I appreciated the story. Nothing super special there. And I do believe that it is much like Forza Horizon 5, which maybe would be my 2 or 3 or 4. I feel like it's the pinnacle of that type of game, and I'm glad that they're still finding ways to kind of optimize that experience and make it fun and change it up enough that for someone who played the last entry in the series, I'm coming back. But that would definitely be up there for me. I think that's my number 1. And then if I was just going to round it out with maybe 3, at this point it's probably that, Forza Horizon 5, and Kena Bridge of Spirits, because in the last week or so I've probably poured 15-20 hours into that game, and that game is great. It's really fabulous. It's funny, Geoff, when you were talking about Tales of Arise and how it's kind of double A, maybe reaching triple A at points, but there's still some parts where you're like, when I first started playing it, it was so polished. I was like, I'm surprised that this came out at a $40 price point. But as you continue to play, you see some of the jagged edges, and it really isn't a AAA game, but it has a AAA look, and it has AAA mechanics, in my opinion. And it's just kind of an interesting kind of out of left field thing that I just really loved. So I would say that's my 3.
Okay.
Nice.
I'll go ahead and just kind of rehash what I think 3 games worth mentioning this year are. I've already kind of alluded to them. Griff, I appreciate you reminding me about Pokemon Snap because that'll be there too. But I think my number 1 probably has to be Metroid Dread, just because it's a franchise revival essentially that I think could have gone so wrong, but just felt so right to play. And it wasn't a perfect game, but it was a game that just made me really excited for the potential of this series and made me feel like Nintendo maybe has, if not a new tentpole, at least like a new thing to be excited about. And that's cool for me, to see, Mercury Steam come into their own, to see someone kind of capture the things that I enjoy about those types of games. And, something that I think generated some conversation and I think was hopefully pretty successful. So that's probably my favorite game. New Pokemon Snap also just probably brought me the most joy of any game this year. Thank you for reminding me of that, Griff, because I think it just bears mentioning.
My lost joy.
No other game just made me squeal with delight as much as that game. And I think some people maybe are a little bit more cynical about it, and that's fine, and that's probably fair. For me, it just was so much fun, and every moment of that game was joy for me, and I got so much out of it. And then I just want to throw an honorable mention to Super Auto Pets, which I haven't touched on yet today. But I think that's a game that's worth mentioning because, first of all, it's super cheap. Anyone can play it. It's browser-based. There is an iOS app on its way. It's not here yet. But anywhere else you can play it easily. There is an Android app. And it got me to care about a genre that I knew very little about and was deeply intimidated about, which is like auto fighting,
auto chess
type games. Yeah. It simplified it and it made it accessible and it showed me its beauty in a really fun and just endlessly replayable way. And I think it's something that everyone should take a look at.
Geoff, I feel 100% of the same way about what you said about Deathloop and how I feel about immersive sims. So that's fascinating. It's on my to-do list is to check out Auto Pets now. Now that I know it doesn't work on iPhone, I will commit to using a computer.
Yeah. I mean, unless the iOS app drops tomorrow, but I don't think so. I'm following their Twitter, and they hit some roadblocks, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Like approval stuff.
I have one more thing on here, and I just want to get your guys' thoughts. Returnal, nobody mentioned that, or maybe they did when I was away peeing, but not a big hitter for any of us?
I was so looking forward to it, and I'm so very surprised that I bounced off the game. There wasn't any one particular thing that kind of turned me off. I guess it just didn't grab me overall, and I enjoyed the combat. Maybe it was just a tad too hard, and there were a couple other things on my plate, but yeah, I bounced off it. What do you guys think?
Same thing.
I never bought it. I got to the purchase screen, and I was like, $70. It's so stupid, but it's true. And it's if of all the people, like, I'm the roguelike guy. I love roguelikes.
It's 40 now.
Is it really?
Yep.
Okay, maybe I'll get it then. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I should like it. I don't know if I love Housemarque games. I respect what they do, but I don't know if I love them. But I should give Returnal a shot because I am the roguelike guy.
It's your duty.
It's my duty.
Yep. Go play it.
I'll let you know if it charts. I do need a game to bring some life back into my PS5.
Jamie, my third game on my list was Unpacking, and I'm curious, did you play that? And if you haven't, or if you have, did you have similar feelings to Animal Crossing?
I love that game. I haven't. I beat maybe 3 or 4 stages, 5 stages. I haven't finished it. Even within those 3, 4, or 5 stages, I kind of enjoyed the slight story it was telling.
Mm-hmm.
I did not enjoy it the same way that I enjoy Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing has this odd thing where it doesn't need to be perfect for me.
Okay.
Like it like
I
don't know
I
why
hear
you're
you. You want
laughing
to talk
at
about
that,
Genshin? I can talk about Genshin all day long. If you want to talk about not perfect games that are perfect.
No.
Animal
I
Crossing,
mean,
it's more about the routine, honestly, in Animal Crossing.
I meant
One might be able to
meant
find
like
that in many games.
Yeah.
no, what I meant more in terms of what I, the player, am striving for in the game. In Unpacking, I'm like, okay, there's a perfect way to arrange this room. There's like an optimal way. And that's what I was kind of going for. So there was a little bit of pressure there. I enjoyed it and very calming overall, but I was there was that little bit of pressure in the back of my mind. That game does point out when you do things perfectly. There is like, an extra recognition for when you put the thing exactly where it's supposed to be.
Really?
So that is there. Yeah.
I must have not done any of those then.
Yeah, I believe it gives you like an extra star or something. I'll have to look into it to remind
It wouldn't
myself,
surprise me, but
Is it on Switch, guys? I haven't played it at all, and I
it is on
vaguely know
Switch,
about
but
it.
it's free on Game Pass.
Okay.
I mean, it's part of Game Pass.
Is it a puzzle game or is it just an unpacking game?
It's a chores game. I wouldn't call it puzzle.
Yeah. I mean, you're literally just unpacking boxes and putting things away. Very zen. But what I guess what I meant to say earlier was that when I'm trying to do something in Animal Crossing, like for example, this year on my island, I was like, I'm going to make a theme park, and it's going to be on the top of a mountain comprised of waterfalls. That's my vision. And then what actually happens is like some horrible bastardization of that, which the game forces you into doing, and you make compromises and you get halfway there, and that's okay. I felt like with Unpacking, it's like I'm shooting for perfection here. At least that was how I played it.
I get that you're finding more structure in Unpacking.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. The to-do list there is limited in both the game's design and intent. So we're talking about two different things, but I thought that there was some similarity in just like the domesticity of both of those things, both those games. But Geoff, if you haven't played it, I would suggest checking it out through some means.
I've heard positive buzz. I think it was between that and Chicory, and I grabbed Chicory, thinking that would be the game I would like more, and then I played it and I was like, this feels a little overwhelming. Also, like, maybe Switch isn't the best place to play that game. I'm a little bit sad that I got it for Switch.
Yeah, it seems like you could benefit from a mouse, right? I haven't played it yet.
Super does.
I've heard that is if you're getting hung up on the need for accuracy and quality, but if you can let that go, you're fine at any location.
It might just be a Zelda game, which is fine. I don't know. I need to give it a little bit more time to kind of percolate. But I chose Chicory, and it's nice to hear that you guys are both liking Unpacking, because it makes me want to go back and revisit that choice juncture and go for Unpacking as well.
That game is good with a mouse, and you can play that on your PC right now.
For
I
free.
think.
Highly
I think
suggest
it's
it.
on PC Game Pass.
Yes, it is. That's where I played it. Cool. So I don't know if there's anything else worthwhile mentioning for games this last year. I mean, I think we've all said our pieces on the things that we want to call out. As we started off 2022 with some crazy ass news, it almost feels facile to go back and look at 2021 and for jokes and gags and dumb shit happening, because we're in the thick of it already, right? Like, this could be the new stonks
Frontier
of you know what I'm saying? Like,
I was gonna say, remember when GameStop to the moon was a thing, and now it's all just JPEGs, man?
Yeah. We're living it.
Changed.
We're living it. All right. Well, this has been great. You guys got any parting words on game stuff for the last year that you'd want to drop out, or we think we're good?
Game 2022, Elden Ring, Game of the Year.
Ooh, that's gonna be fun.
Calling
I'm
it.
excited about that. Yeah, we won't talk about upcoming stuff, but I'm getting that terrible Pokemon game that's probably bad.
Oh yeah, baby! I'll be playing it as well.
Coming right up.
Fuck me up,
too.
Pokemon. All right,
All right.
well, here's to another solid year of games. Hopefully, we're able to find some good stuff in there throughout the next couple months and continue our conversations.
For sure. Already having a blast with Horizon's Gate, so I'm sure I'll be having lots of fun experiences this year. Whether or not they come from 2022, I don't care.
Yes.
Yeah, that's how you should feel. That's the right way to feel.
All right, guys. We should end this sucker.
Yep. Here's the sign off. Whether
Right.
it's a fly or a pass, the games are coming to you.
Wait, we can't
cheaper.
name the service.
I didn't name the service.
Is this your first full year without it?
No, I have it.
You
I never got rid of
it?
it. I told you guys,
What?
I'm grandfathered into a lower price, which I
Oh,
was
that's
like,
right. You
I can
did
downshift,
tell
but
us
I will be
that.
paying more money for less product.
Isn't this a conflict of interest? Because aren't we thinking about purchasing them, guys? Isn't that
That's true.
part
The
of
Yeah.
second big deal of 2022.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm going to have to
I'm-
sell my Activision and Microsoft stock?
What do you guys think? I'm thinking like 7 cents a share.
I'm thinking if I can just get Phil to take an interest in me, he can buy us as we buy them.
Well, I plan on renting my shares 2 at a time to Microsoft, and then they got to send it back when they're done.
But not too yucked up, or else we'll charge them a little handling fee. A degunking fee.
All right, guys. Thanks for chatting.
No problem.
Yeah.
Good times as always.
Bye.
Bye.